Rail Practicality is the title I've chosen because this lesson is going to talk about trains and how they're used to transport products in our economy. So let's go to the first slide. The first example is what's old is new. What's old is new. The value of rail lines have increased. I didn't proofread this, so I'm going quickly. The value of rail lines have increased in recent years due to the popularity of using rail logistics. As compared to trucks, rail is more efficient due to decreased friction, slower speeds, and relatively flat terrain. The downside to rail transport is the slow speed and difficulty stopping and unloading cargo at its destination. Some companies are offering combined railroad transport directly to the end user to solve this problem. So we got 5 words. I'll just do a quick overview of this. Like I said, I just made this presentation. I haven't proofread anything because I'm trying to make I'm trying to make lots of lessons fast. So here we go. So we got rail lines. The value of rail lines have increased. That could mean that when you're shipping stuff, you can make more money if you're selling stuff as compared to the expensive road using trucks. Or it means the value of the actual company, the railroad company is worth more, and those are two things that are happening. Now, rail logistics, we'll go over that. We have the trains run at slower speeds because there's somewhat flat terrain. Terrain, of course, is the ground, or like here where it's going. It's not going up a mountain steep, it's going slowly up the mountain. But the downside, the problem of rail transportation is the slow speed and the difficulty stopping and having to unload your cargo. So unloading your products at the destination. The destination is where you are going, and some companies are offering combined railroad transport directly to the end user, so they don't have to stop, unload cargo, and then get another company to pick up the parcels or the products, because the more companies you use, there might be some problems. So let's go to the first slide about logistics. Logistics really means moving products and services or organizing within a company. So the logistics are difficult because long transit times from Beijing, that means if we're shipping stuff from Beijing, it takes a long time, so the shipping or the moving of products is difficult because of that long time it takes. So that would be moving products or services. Now, the organizing within a company would be more like this. Logistically speaking, I believe that we need fewer receptionists to operate. So if our company has too many receptionists, what I'm saying is that within our company, we're going to get rid of some of them to make it more efficient or cheaper. Now, Mr. Turner will fill out the role of logistics manager at our company. This logistics manager is the title of his job, so he would deal with all of the shipping and mailing that needs to be done. Now, here's a bird. Cross-border logistics of animals is difficult because many species are illegal or invasive. Cross-border logistics is like, let's say we need to go to a different country. So I'm in Canada, I want to send a bird to the United States. That's cross-border logistics. It's difficult because the United States has various laws. In fact, every country has various laws that say you cannot import these birds or any animal without a permit. So they have to go through health checks, and they have to make sure it's not an invasive species. For example, some species can reproduce too fast and take over the whole country. Like, for example, a rat or a cockroach, which have basically taken over the entire world. Those would be considered invasive. And compared is easier to use than logistics. It just means to examine different objects or to see differences. For example, the bananas traveled well compared to the apples which spoiled. So if the bananas went on the train and they were good, that means that they traveled better as compared to the apples which spoiled. The apples went bad. Next example is the new diesel engine is comparable to the old one but more efficient. You can also say the new diesel engine is comparable to the new one. The old one. So you got comparable and comparable depending on how you want to pronounce the word. Comparatively speaking, steel is holding up better than aluminum. Holding up, when you're talking about something that is a physical structure like this, you'd say steel is stronger and it is not being broken. So for example, you look at the side here, we have these metal rails. You could say that the steel is holding up better than the aluminum because the aluminum is too weak and flexible and too light. You could say that. And here it says, compared to the cost of building the overpass, the highway was cheap. So this was expensive to build, whereas the highway was cheap. So you're saying we're comparing the cost of these two. Friction has many different uses. I'm going to go over one at a time. The first one is surface resistance to motion, like this. Okay. See this wheel? If this wheel was going on the rocks or the stones here, it would have high friction. It would have a lot of resistance to motion. But since it's going on the smooth steel, it has low resistance to motion, so it can move easier. That would be this example here. The friction prevents a square wheel from moving. So you see these wheels around. If they were square, it would have a lot of friction. Could you imagine trying to push that? That would be a lot of friction. The second example is two objects rubbing together. I should put together. Okay, so we got two sticks rubbing together makes friction. Or you could say anything rubbing together makes friction. For example, this wheel rubbing against this rail makes friction. John and Jim both dated Linda, and it's causing friction in the office. That's a common scenario, office politics among people like this. Yeah, so this is using friction to mean arguing or disagreeing, or like tension. I think it's actually more tension than arguing, but so for example, let's say I was in a meeting with Linda and I accidentally spilled coffee on her dress. Maybe the next day there will be some friction because she hates me because I spilled coffee on her dress. Here you have steel wheels riding on steel track reduces friction as compared to a truck's rubber wheels on asphalt. This is the track, or what did I call it, rail before? So yeah, let's do the next slide. Relative or relatively. Relative means comparing or connected to. Now that's confusing because comparing and connected is sort of the opposite. So we'll look at this one here. It also means somewhat or a little bit. So let's look at this. It says for relative value, the Honda is better than the GM. Toyota uses relative technology or relative technology, so it's okay. Honda has relatively better batteries. What we're saying here is that for relative value, comparing the value, The Honda is better than the GM. Toyota uses relative technology. Relative means connected to, or it's like technology that is similar. Similar technology, so it's okay. Honda has relatively better batteries. Relatively means somewhat. So the batteries are a little better. And of course, a relative is a brother, sister, cousin, mother, grandparents, grandfather, child, etc. Today is relatively boring. My relatives are over. I hate them, so I'm hiding in my basement. Yeah, today is a little boring. My brother, sister, cousins. Usually it's cousins or in-laws. I don't have a wife, thank God. So I don't have these, in-laws coming over. So no problemo. Susan is relatively happy with the subway's cheap fares, but disappointed with the slow, crowded ride. Well, it's a good thing that Susan's happy, because if she wasn't, she would be a basket case. Okay, never mind. So, what she is saying here is that she likes the cheap fares. It's cheap, 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 but it's slow. And that's true about the subway. That's how it is. Let's check out destination. Where you're going, or a purpose to an end. So we'll do where you're going. The destination is still 400 kilometers away. I need to drive faster, but the car is destined to overheat. This one, where you're going, is this one. A purpose to an end is this one. Destined to overheat. So what it's saying is that I'm going to drive faster, make my engine hotter, and that means my car will probably end up being too hot. Here's another example of this, a purpose to an end. I am destined to be a king. That's like, my purpose is to be a king, guaranteed. It's like some sort of God made me to be a king. You know what I mean? Here's the same thing. Reach for your destiny. That's like, what are you supposed to do? Oh, I'm going to be a king. Okay, so I'm going to reach for my destiny. I'm going to tell everyone I'm the king, and I'll be the king. Your destiny awaits you. You will be a great doctor. A lot of people think they're going to be destined to be a doctor or a lawyer or a successful business person. Junction areas provide a place for passengers to leave the train once arriving upon their destination. So here's a junction area, I think. I don't know. I just took these pictures off these. I find various websites that say they got free use images. All you provide is a link back. So I took this random picture of who knows what. But you can get off the train at your destination, get some juice, get back on the train, go back home. I don't know. Anyway, here's a interesting article that I wrote 10 minutes ago. Okay, fuel for thought. Fuel for thought. The fuel used by trains has evolved over the years from wood and coal to diesel and electricity. The former, that is the thing, when you say the former, it means the before. So like wood and coal is the former. The former has advantages of being frugal, and the latter means what's after, which is the coal and diesel. And the latter has the advantage of being reliable. Electricity is cleanest insofar as the environment is concerned. Now this expression, that just means like the environment, like about the environment, electricity is cleanest. So instead of saying, about the environment, electricity is cleanest. Instead of saying this, about the environment, electricity is cleanest, we say this weird thing, electricity is cleanest insofar as the environment is concerned. Insofar as concerned. See that? So like, insofar as flowers are concerned, they are beautiful. Insofar as the title is concerned, it's too short. Insofar as electricity is concerned, it's dangerous. It just means about. However, it is becoming more expensive as feedstock costs rise. Feedstock is whatever you put into the electricity or into your car or into your factory. It could be metal or oil, gas, electricity, wood, maybe chemicals. Those are all feedstocks. Instead of burning natural gas to generate electricity to power trains, industry proponents are looking to burn natural gas in the train's engines to reduce the heat loss. So instead of burning the natural gas to make electricity to power the trains, industry proponents are people who work in the industry or who are excited about the industry. And the industry is the natural gas industry. So they want to burn the natural gas in the engine of the train instead of burning it to make electricity, because what they want is the explosion and the heat in the engine, not at the power plant. So they're going to reduce the loss of heat. Here's a flower picture, which I took from that website. A balance between environmental concerns and energy needs can be found with new fuels, saving trees and precious farmland. So, what I'm trying to say is that we need to find new fuels that do not destroy everything. Yeah.